Hello, greetings everyone. I'm Joyce Davis, PennLive's outreach and opinion editor, and we're here today with another forum. We're calling it an education roundtable. We're exploring all of the many different issues that are impacting Harrisburg's downtown development. And I can tell you, I can't think of one more important than education. But before we get into hearing from the real experts on this topic, I'm going to turn to thank most sincerely Jennifer Doyle, who's here with TFEC and has become a sponsor of these roundtables and these forums. So Jennifer, the mic is yours.
Thank you, Joyce. And thank you all so much for taking the time to tune in and to listen to a really, really critically important topic here in our community. Conversations like these help our community move forward, and the ideas that we learn from here drive progress. Thank you very much to PennLive and the Patriot News for hosting these forums and for bringing people together to talk about these critical issues and the future of our city. At TFEC, our mission is to strengthen communities by connecting people and resources that create ultimate opportunities for all of our neighbors. Supporting conversations like these is one way to help bring people together to move our community forward. Today's conversation focuses on education and the experiences of students who live and learn in our city. That makes this an important moment to talk about why education matters and why the impact on our community is so great. Education plays a role in our region's future. When students have the opportunity to learn and thrive and grow, our entire community becomes stronger. We hear over and over that the generous dollars that donors have created scholarship funds to support students, the impact that that has on their life, not just on their life to go on to further education, they are paying that generosity forward. They are sharing that with other students, they are sharing that with their families, and they are using that to fuel community-minded impact of their own. At TFEC, we believe education is one of the most meaningful investments a community can make. Strong schools build strong communities. They prepare our young people to contribute to the places where they live and work. Education opens doors. You're going to hear a lot about that today. It helps students discover their talents, pursue their goals. And when we support students, we support the future of our community. We're proud to work alongside educators, nonprofit leaders, and community partners who care about the future of our region. Our grants support programs that help students learn and grow, and our scholarships help them continue their education to pursue their goals. Thank you for being part of this conversation and supporting the students who are going to shape the future of our city and beyond.
Well, thank you very much, Jennifer. We really, really appreciate your support.
Absolutely, thank you.
I'm going to put the microphone here because we're now going to begin our discussion today. And again, I will introduce our panelists here, but I wanted to say thank you to each one of you sincerely for taking the time. This is about helping our community, helping the next generation, and this is part of how we do that. So, who do we have here to begin our conversation about education in our region and how it's impacting our economic development and quality of life, to be honest, for everyone, not only in Harrisburg, but throughout the region? And so we, of course, have, I think, one of the stars of the show today, and that's Dr. Benjamin Henry. He has more than 2 decades of experience as a public school teacher, and that's, trust me, that's a hard job these days. He began his career as a special education teacher in Polk County, Florida, and most recently also served as a regional assistant superintendent in Polk County, Florida. If you want to add anything to that resume when we talk, you feel free to do so. But we also are absolutely delighted to have a parent and someone who's really in the trenches, I think, Mrs. Rosalind Copeland. She is president of the Harrisburg School Board and a lifelong resident of Pennsylvania. She grew up in Harrisburg, right here. And she is a wife, mother of 3, and grandmother. She also, I want to tell you, called herself a woman of God. So I'm not going to play that down and take that lightly. But she graduated actually in 2002 from from John Harris. So she comes with lots of credentials for this conversation. And then we have with us our hostess, Jennifer Morrison. She is CEO and principal of the Pennsylvania STEAM Academy, and she has more than 25 years in education with a passion, thank you, for urban school environments. That is important. And then we have Gordon Lowry, who has traveled here from Philadelphia. He is the principal of the Julia Masterman High School in Philadelphia, and it is one of the Commonwealth's highest performing schools if you're looking at test scores. Now, that is despite having a student body that is mostly minority and from economically disadvantaged homes. So we really need to talk to Gordon Lowry. And his school ranks among the top schools in Pennsylvania. And I call him the miracle man, David Schenkweiler, just joking with him. But he is interim president of Harrisburg University. And he took over Harrisburg University at a time when it really needed strong leadership. And it's clear he has brought that. He was a foundational figure in the university's history. He served as the founding chairman of its board from 2001 to 2007. So kudos to him for taking on this monumental task that's so important to our city and to our region. So with that, let's dive right in. We know who's here. We know their expertise, although there's a whole lot more in their bios I could have told you. But we're going to start with Dr. Henry, because Dr. Henry, you also have a very tough job that you've come in to try to save, I hope, a school and a school district. And I say that because I have personally been heartbroken to see the test scores that came out. And we all know that if you can't read, write, or do basic math, you don't have a chance in this world. I mean, maybe I'm being too dramatic, but I want to turn it over to you so you lay out what you think you're facing. What are those issues and how you're dealing with them?
Well, first, I want to thank you all for having this conversation. This is a needed conversation in our community. I tell everyone my reason for being here is because of our test scores. I was in Florida and enjoying the sunshine, and I heard about this job in Harrisburg. And then when I saw the test score, I say, I need to go. And I've made that very clear. And one of the main reasons here is when I saw the reading scores, that spoke to me. To see our percentage of proficiency of our student, it spoke to me, and that's the reason I applied. And I tell everyone, my main goal here is I want to give back this community something that they deserve, a great educational system. We didn't get in this situation overnight. It's going to take us a while to get out, but we are making the stride that we need to make in order to change the opportunity for our student. So we are putting in some great programs already that's going to work on improving our test scores. But it's going to take time for us to change the culture of our school district as well.
Yeah.
So hopefully throughout this conversation, we could talk about some of the great things and some of the challenges. But again, one of the things that I want to do is first say thank you for having this conversation. If our education system changed, so go our city. So I understand that. One of the first conversation I had with our mayor when I arrived here, and I told her that if I do my job, then Harrisburg going to do their job. I understand that if we change our trajectory in education, we can change people's opinion about our city. So I take that work very heavy and I understand the work. And the only thing that I would ask for our community is to continue to work with us and partner with us as we continue to move forward with this work.
I like that. I like that. So you came because it was a challenge. You were ready to step into the challenge and help a community. So that's great.
Yeah, listen, when I told my wife from the Bahamas, and I say, hey, we moving to Harrisburg. She looked at me crazy. And she said, you serious? And I always tell everyone the same thing. I say, why not Harrisburg? Everyone keep asking me, why did you go here? I said, why not? Why not? I didn't come here for a second job. I came for this job.
I hear you. Well, guess what? I came from Prague to Harrisburg. They asked me the same thing, but Harrisburg is a beautiful place. Yes. It's a wonderful place with great people. So let's turn to our parents and to the chairwoman of the school board. So Rosalind Coppola.
All right. And again, thank you for having me here. And I'm blessed to be amongst some great educators, ones who have been in the field, and also able to take on a lot of the work that a lot of people don't get to see behind the scenes. So a lot we see is what we hear. And That is why I chose to not be a part of the board. But I've experienced some issues, right?
Mm,
Being a mother, my biggest always concerns, and I think all mothers, is safety, right? Because we don't think about having safety protocols
mm,
and things in place, because I believe if your child is not safe, nothing else is actually being presented when we talk about education to food or just, being around your other peers. So that is a little bit of my story. And it started with my son, my oldest son. I just experienced a lot of great hurt as a parent. And I always tell people, we can get the lawyers and do all this great work, but what does it look like to sit at the table to not be the problem and be a part of the solution? So that was my whole advocacy in running, for the school board and being a voice for other parents that don't have no one to speak up for them, and understanding the processes on how to know your principals and who's actually in the school. Because sometimes just as a parent, you just think, oh, you're sending your children to school and they're getting well educated. And then we see the problems and then we show up. So we have to do better in showing up
mm.
just prior to problems, showing up just to support the child and making sure they are in a safe environment. So that was one of my major concerns on being a part of the board and seeing what expertise I can bring that I've used in my own household, but to share with other parents.
I'm
So,
glad you raised the issue of safety because, frankly, that's one of the issues that we understand is a serious problem at John Harrison. I mean, the violence that can be there. Now, to be honest, PennLive, we're getting reports about bullying and violence and all that at a lot of schools, so it's an issue. But if you're a young person and you're afraid, it's hard to learn. If you have to fight or if you have to so thank you for bringing that up, and we'll delve into what more actually our community can do to help make our schools safer. So let's move on and get some opening comment from Jennifer Morrison. Because clearly you are here, you are in this building because it was a response to a need. So let us hear, what is STEAM Academy? What is it brought to our city? And anything else you want to share about, how it's doing? Is it succeeding?
Sure. Well, thank you. Happy to have you all here today. The Pennsylvania STEAM Academy was opened in 2021, was our inaugural year, and it was founded by a group of former and current educators, as well as community members who recognized the challenges in the community and wanted to provide another option for students in the community. And PA STEAM, our name says it all. We are a STEAM focused school, so we spend a lot of time on science, technology, engineering, art, and math. And I think that in only our very short 5 years, we've accomplished a great deal. And there is still a lot of work to be done, but we are poised to continue that journey, and we're really excited. I know I'm personally very excited to work alongside Harrisburg School District to continue to improve ourselves, but also see the school district, get to their former glory. So really excited to be here, part of this conversation, and I think we have a lot to offer this community.
And Jennifer, I'm glad you said former glory because I have spoken to, let's say, a certain generation of people who were graduates of school, William Penn, and those are impressive folks. They are doing they're around this country. Unfortunately, many of them left Harrisburg. And I worry also about what's the brain drain been like. But you're right, there was glory here once in our school.
And there is still glory. We have tremendous students,
Yeah.
families, and community members here, and it's time we start shedding a light on all the positive things that are happening.
Absolutely. I hear you. Before we go to our guest from Philadelphia, I am going to ask Dave Schenkweiler to weigh in here because clearly he's trying to do a great thing, perform a miracle to make sure after COVID and in the midst of all this economic downturn that our university survives. But he's impacted by what's going on in the Harrisburg schools. So Dave, what are your thoughts on all of this?
Couple thoughts. First of all, if you talk to any economic development specialists, they'll say education is the number one driver of economic development in any city. When we started Harrisburg University 25 years ago, we were the only capital city in the nation that did not have a residential university within city limits. Our founding principles were, and our mission were twofold. First of all, from the economic development side, think back to 1999, to provide this region with workers in the technology sector, and also to help grow businesses in the technology sector. But the overriding mission was to provide young people an education where they might not be able to afford to go to higher education, and we could provide that for them. So 51% of our students are Pell Grant recipients, which means they're economically disadvantaged. We have done really well. From an economic development side, we have 500 employees in downtown Harrisburg. Last year, we educated 10,000 people, meaning undergraduate, graduate, doctorate, professional development. And we also have 1,600 high school students in our college and the high school program from across the state. So we teach a wide breadth. We have a good partnership with Harrisburg School District. We are in the school district with our college and the high school program. We get dual enrollment students from Harrisburg, and we get undergraduate students who progress through our different levels. I will tell you the optimism that you have for your students. I had a young person from Harrisburg the other day. I like to meet the students in the hall. I said to her, "Tell me your story." And she said, "Well, I was homeless. My mom and I lived in our car or on relatives' floors." And I knew she was a senior. I said, "Well, what's your plan?" And she said, "I'm going to dental school." She was already accepted. We have so many of those stories in the school district, in your school, and here. Harrisburg is not any different than other schools when looking at college prep and are they ready for college? All colleges are seeing this. HU, like many other colleges, we have programs to help those students who are first generation and have never experienced what college is like. And we're creating more programs for them. Last thing I'll say is, since the beginning, we have offered Harrisburg School District students a free education. So after their Pell Grant, after scholarships, they come to our school free. And we have, I think right now we've got 35 Harrisburg School District students in our undergraduate program. And I could go on and on.
Actually, that's something we should be proud of, that this kind of thing. But before let me just I do have to delve a little bit here, because I guess you're not getting the students who are 2% proficient in math. I mean, I guess they're really not applying for college. And because that bothers, how can you go to college if you don't have that basic?
We do get students who are not proficient at the level that they should be, which is why we have student success services to surround them with. Much like any other colleges and universities, especially smaller colleges and universities, that's where our pool of students are coming from. So we've got to be ready to help them from day one to get to the next level of being able to get through college. We do a lot of hand-holding, but that's a good thing, because we as a community will benefit from doing that.
Okay, very good. Well, let's turn to our visitor from Philadelphia, from the Julia Masterman School. Please, Gordon Laurie, we had a little conversation before, and you were clearly proud of your school for good reason. But help us to understand what's going on. How is it your students are doing so well?
That's a great question. I want to thank you for inviting me to be here. We have a lot to learn from each other. My school, Julia R. Masterman, we have 1,200 students in grades 5 to 12. The typical entry point is 5th grade. We're a criteria school. So those students who apply via a lottery have to meet PSSA criteria, attendance, and prior grades. So this year we'll accept about 135 students into our 5th grade, and those guys will be, as we hope, through their graduating in a few years. in that city, Philadelphia, you'll know, is seen as prior the poorest big city in the nation. It's now the second poorest big city. 200 schools, 150,000 students. And with similar challenges that Harrisburg faces in terms of economic downturn, COVID recovery. The district have just put forward a master facilities planning to close 18 schools, and in order to modernize campuses. The average age of the Philadelphia school building is 71 years old. So there is a huge effort to rationalize some of the costs involved. And we've just blessed with the students who come to us are driven, ambitious, and mum and dad understand that this opportunity at our school can lead to life-changing choices. And so everyone works very hard. We know that the biggest driver of student success is well-supported, highly qualified teachers. And my role as the principal is to hire those teachers and to retain them. And that is, we know that that's not a secret formula. If we're able to do that in all schools, we're likely to see success. I know we're going to touch on teacher shortage and other factors.
Well, I think we might go there right. What I'm hearing, though, is the one difference is that you have not everybody gets into your school, right? So you're already getting those kids who may be motivated, right? But I know those kind of kids existed at John Harris as well. So let's turn it over. Let's go back to Dr. Henry, because what we heard, and you can tell me if we're right, that parental involvement and dedication to the kids, teacher retention, are you really keeping the teachers who are motivated, and how challenging is now for these teachers? But are we missing something because there's always at least three things. Go ahead.
Well, for me, I'm going to start from the beginning.
Yeah.
I know we're talking about John Harris, but early intervention is such an important piece of all of this. One of the reasons why I started here with corrected reading and we started in elementary, because we could address our reading problem in elementary, we could start moving the needle in education. So we are starting with early intervention. So if I can ask something from our community, it's for our community to start engaging with reading with their kid every night for 30 minutes. That could move the needle more than anything. Just being able to engage in reading with our kids, with our family, just to show our families and our kids, reading is important. So if we're going to fix some of the big problems, let's start at the beginning, early intervention. So what we're doing around early intervention is where we got to start. We're putting in place corrected reading in all of elementary school. I will talk about that. We're putting in place some certain pieces around social emotional learning. Again, many of our kids post-COVID, they didn't get a chance to go to pre-K or go to our early childhood center. So we're seeing that impact with a lot of our early learners coming into our system, not understanding how to play, how to engage in the work. So we have to do a lot of work there first while 4 and 5 years old. So when they get to John Harris, they understand how to be students. Mm-hmm. But let's go back to John Harris. One of the things that I'm extremely proud about is that we've been seeing some positive traction at John Harris. We have an acting principal there right now, and some of the work she's doing around resetting the culture, we're seeing positive trend. That school, John Harris, has over the years many principals. And let them go on, be honest. Yeah. Go back to what we were saying before. We talk about turnaround work. In order for this work to last, you need stability. And you need stability at the top. And so as long as we can start getting stability at the leadership role, then we can start getting teachers to stay around. But we also talk about the news and the information we get out there. Again, that when we look at the news, if you're 18, 19 years old, going into education is not something you want to go into. Mainly because when you go on social media and you see everything's out there, why would you? When you see nothing but negative about education. If in order for us to retain teacher, it's going to be a collective action on all of us. How do we change the image of what we have in Harrisburg around education? If everything we talk about is negative, why would you want to come into education? There's so many positive things that goes on in our school district, in the city, that I wish we could share more about because it's so positive. To see the amount of kids that's getting scholarship, we need to highlight that on the news, to be able to show that we have good kids that's going off the colleges, getting major certificate scholarship. But we always talk about the 2%.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got that 2%, but we have a lot of our kids that are thriving in our system. How do we change the narrative and start talking about those kids as well?
That's a great, you know what? How you do it? Send me an op-ed on it. Let me
Gotcha.
know who they are, because I would love to have a series here are the stars at John Harris. Let's do that.
Well,
But
and let's say Harrisburg School District, not just John Harris.
all right, I hear you.
Because
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
sometimes we gravitate to the one campus. We
Right.
have more than just the one campus. We have Side Tech. We have
I
Cougar
agree.
Academy. We have more than just that one school. But again, I want us to tell a story about how our students are doing in our school district.
I agree. But the other thing you mentioned was the teacher, because I'm going to tell you, my mother was a teacher, and wherever we went in our community, she was honored. I mean, the old times, teachers were special. They were, right? What happened that we denigrate our teachers, that they're not in positions of honor anymore, right? That is something that the community could do to address. But I also wanted to ask Rosalind, he mentioned what parents can do. I remember in my memory, I used to have a little baby boy. We would snuggle up and read, right? Every night. What is going on? Are parents understanding the role they play at home, especially in this reading and maybe even counting out the eggs or something? What about parental involvement?
I'm glad you asked, because that's another thing that I think we don't look towards. Is one thing that your children are not performing, but we have a lot of parents who really do not know how to read. And even experiencing, I'm a part of a daycare facility, and you have a lot of children that are reading to their parents. And there was also we had a high capacity of a lot of ESL students. So that also plays a major factor in data, right? Because they're English secondary learners, so they don't really understand what they're reading. So when we think about the family, we have to find a wraparound service, not just for the student. Do we have that dual, as you said, with Harrisburg University? I know we also have it with HAC, to have the GED programs available where we're not just focusing on the child, because the child is one, but if the child has a parent who's not able to read and write, then we have an even major problem. And that's what I have, experienced, to see, like, wow. So just being a parent, I'm involved, right? And I'm telling, other parents and community to say, hey, whatever you can do, just, start small, just reading and get involved. And again, something major you said about just what we put out there, the language. We have to change the way we speak, because there's power in what you speak out. So if we can change to say we do have great students, and I had the opportunity. Sustainability is important, right? Even though in the first term I've been with three different, superintendents per se, and this is only one term. That's 4 years. So
That's a good point. We're going to ask you, are you going to stick around?
well,
I mean, really.
well, that's what I was excited, because by just the relationship we're building with the superintendent, he has allowed the board members to do walkthroughs in the schools. So that's something that has been, taken away for quite some time. But to actually get in there to see the corrective reading programs and the children being excited, is that we're not too far off, but there's work to be done. So
Yeah.
I just
And
wanted to.
I'm going to hear from Jennifer too on this, and just to see what kind of parental involvement is here. But we're going to come back to that, because maybe there's some way we could work with the school district, the school board, to identify what the parental needs are. If there are parents that are looking to go back to school, I know there are universities and all that. Messiah has a program, I know. I mean, HAC has things. What can we do if we identify the need to ask the community to meet the need? But Jennifer, go ahead.
Yeah, so I have some top tier parents in this program. I am so thankful of the parental team that we have here behind PA STEAM, but there's always areas for improvement. And if I'm being totally honest, seat time. I think since COVID, we have gotten really comfortable in kids being out of school. And since the return to school, I just don't feel that there's an urgency for seat time. And so to just give you an example, I have a lot of early dismissals for hair appointments. I have early dismissals for things that are not of a doctor in nature, or things that, students need to be in their seats for that full day to get the most impact from our program. We also are
But
seeing.
Jennifer,
Hmm?
stop right there, because
Yeah.
that shocked me a little bit. The
Yeah.
hair appointment.
Very,
you
very
can't say
common.
no to that.
I can say no, but a parent obviously has the opportunity to take their child, right? So I'm not going to.
Parents, hair
Yes.
appointments. Come on. All right,
And-
continue. Sorry, I didn't.
Yeah, but also just getting here on time.
Yeah.
Our classrooms like to get going and started at 8:30, and so if you come at 8:45, you've missed the first 15 minutes of our day. And so those morning moments set the foundation for the day. And when students are trickling in late, it's a trickle down effect to the classroom, right? The teacher has to stop, the teacher has to repeat. So really want to, if we're going to be really honest with our challenges, we need our students to be there every day. We need them in their seats every day for the full amount of the day. And the reading piece that you spoke of, it's so important. Not just our kindergartners, but through our sixth graders, every student in this building should read for 30 minutes every night.
Mhm.
I've made recommendations to parents, please keep books in your car. So in that 15-minute drive home, let your student read to you. It's just as valuable for the adults to read to them as well. So hearing higher level text, from an adult perspective. And we really push that here. I can tell you that when students come to us in kindergarten, it's a very, very mixed bag. I'm always heartbroken when I ask a child what their address is and they have no idea. Okay. And the reality is we have students that show up not knowing their ABCs, not knowing their 1, 2, 3s, can't tell you a parent's phone number. But then on the other hand, we have kindergartners that show up already reading first grade level books, right?
Yeah.
So we want to try to, engage our parents to do more. And that I've really always been a huge believer in the it takes a village mentality. We will never be successful unless the parents are part of that team and we are all actively involved in the growth of that student. And so we need our parents. Like I said, I can't thank enough of my parents for the work that they put in, but we can always do more and do better.
Yeah. And we'll get to, go ahead with culture too, because she's talked about the culture of it. Go ahead.
So one of the things she mentioned that I want to highlight is she talked about that achievement gap. That you have some of the kids that come in able to read and you have some of the kids that not able to read. And for me, that's where I like to start this conversation because it's about a race. And I always thought about when does all kids start this race at the same point? At birth. That's it. And again, how parents engage with their kids. You see some kids take off, being able to read, be able to write, do all of that. Then you have kids that's behind because maybe the parents doesn't have access or understand some of those qualities of being a good parent on what we should be doing with kids. So again, you talk about as a community, that's where the conversation needs to start. At birth, how are we working with our kids? Because that's impacting our school district. We have an influx of special education kids that's been identified. Most of the kids have been identified before they even start school. That's really huge. I mean, last year we brought in 10 new special education classes. This year we're going to bring in an additional 7 classes. A lot of the kids are being identified before they even start a school district. Again, early intervention matter. And so what we're doing at birth with many of our kids is impactful. So if we want, again, start looking at how do we start making moves and changing our school district, that's it. We start at birth. How do we start educating a lot of our young parents on good parenting techniques? How do we read the kids? How do you take the tablet away from time to time and engage the kids in conversation? Once upon a time, PBS was the babysitter. Now the tablet is.
Yeah.
And so, again, how do we, engage our parents on how do you have conversation around what the kid just read in a book, in a text? So when they come to school, they can engage in this work more.
Yeah. But don't be down on Sesame Street.
Listen, I grew up on it. Yep. My daughters grew up. Look at that bit, bro.
And I'm glad you actually talked about the early childhood because I think that's a major piece as well. Because we think about daycare, right? Providers, a lot of daycares, you're just offering just a babysitter, right? And where are the highly, qualified daycare providers? You don't have to just get a provider who's just, an 8. You can get a provider who has a degree. And I'm pretty sure I've read or watched some of the articles with the governor and trying to incentivize daycare provider facilities. And there's actually a different pay rate if you have providers who has a degree versus ones who do not. So there's another early start before they're getting into school that you're already preparing them, where they're just not dropping off and going.
Yeah.
You're actually educating them and prepping them. So when we push them into the school pre-K, they're ready.
Yeah.
Right. So I just wanted to add to
Well,
that.
Dave's got, and then we're going to bring Gordon because I want to hear about the parents and Julia Masterman. Go ahead, Dave.
I'm going to ask more of a comment and then a question.
Okay.
I'm the non-educator here on this panel. It's the job of you all to educate the children. Whose job is it to educate the community? Because you can't do it all. So how does the community respond to support you to do that? Because educating a community, that's not your job. But I get it.
I can answer that. I do take it as a little bit of my responsibility. We bring our parents in. We don't expect our parents to know everything. In fact, we want them to know what we're doing in our classrooms. We want them to know the common language that we're using. We want to show them tips and strategies. And so we offer that here at monthly Empower You nights, where we have different topics. We have anything from financial literacy to study, techniques, how to set your student up for success, how to work with students, and how to work with them even if you're not comfortable with the curriculum or the content, and how can we help you? And I think being very approachable and, making the school a welcoming place for parents can sometimes, open up doors for parents to be more receptive to support, to help, and to ask for what they need, for their families. So,
Gordon, let's hear from you. How are your parents engaged? What are your thoughts on just what's been shared here?
Something the school district have launched is the Parent Family University, which is an opportunity for parents in the community to engage with either ongoing education or education to meet need. So recognizing the need to have parents as part of the process, and if there are gaps in reading, for example, that can be addressed. So one of the missions of the school district, I think, is to make the school something closer to the community hub perhaps it was in years past, rather than a 8:30 to 3 children depository, rather to say we're going to make that physical space available for the community at large. So we have schools in the district that have dental offices and doctors' access in there in order to invite the community in, because there perhaps had been a pattern of what happened in the school was just this black box where children would come in and they would come out. And to your point, if parents are not in the building, they don't know what's happening. And so the part of our mission at our school is to put the public in public education, to open the doors. But our parents have, beyond partnership, are the drivers of the mission of the school in terms of the support they provide, the number of committees that they run independent of the school in order to provide feedback about how we're doing climate and culture, teaching and learning, and operational. So the parents also have taken a stance of it's our school too, and we are going to let you know how you're doing. How can we help? Here are some of the issues. So it's a powerful partnership.
I'm sorry we don't have, but they were invited, the Catherine Hershey School folks, because this is their concept, to also see that child as part of a larger family, and how do you also pull the family in? And let me tell you, I'm going to tell you, some of these are single moms, right? And that's the other thing I want to talk about, because I can sit here and talk about all the time I had to sit and read to my child, but if I was working 3 jobs, right, I might come home bone tired and not. So dealing with the reality that many of our parents are single mothers, right? And I've been told single grandmothers in many cases who are just, they're at wit's end. What are your thoughts on how to deal with that issue? I know you're not a single mother. He's ready, yes, because that, to me, that's also an issue. That's the
Where, and this
reality.
again, I'm gonna go back. This is where that village come in play. You know, one of the things that I've been championing is mentoring. We understand that many of our families, many of our kids may be growing up in a single parent household. So what's the power of mentoring or our faith-based community to partner up with our school district to provide opportunity to work with kids? That's where I'm always hope and call to action for our community to come together to support our kids in that matter. But again, I understand. I grew up as a single mom. My mom was a single mom. And so I understand growing up that way, and I understand that my
Did she have time to read to you?
Yeah.
All
yeah.
right.
Well, she made time. I mean, it
Okay.
might have been when we was in the car at a
Yeah.
light, but she made time. Was it hard? Yes. It's not easy raising kids by yourself, but that village, when the village come together, powerful things can happen. So again, it's the faith-based community of our sorority and fraternity to come together, our nonprofit. There are so many people in this community that could come together and say, all right, let's organize for our kids. Let's be there. Let's stand in the gap for our kids. I think that's where we could come together. You know, we have initiative where in my former world where we had a lot of retired grandparents that would come into school and just have kids read to them.
Mm-hmm.
How powerful is that?
I'm wondering if we need some sort of community strategic plan to support. I mean, you mentioned the sororities, you mentioned the faith-based, and I'm part of a big Susquehanna Conference United Methodist Church that's looking for a way. I mean, maybe we need to really put some thought behind making a strategic plan for our communities to come in to help. Does that make sense? Or
I'm glad you spoke of that because even as COVID hit, and it was the discretion of your church, right? But my bishop at the time, we didn't shut our church down, and we stayed open during the pandemic, and we had a lot of children that were maybe online. So we had students who came in during that time, and we were still, supporting them, and that's always been like a vision. When we think about what we get tax exempt from churches. So I did a study and I found there's like over 130 churches right here in our resident, and we exempt over 52 million, $1 million. So what does that look like? What every church, not every, if we take about 50 churches, right, and everyone sustains to 50 students, and we're aligned, their mission aligns with the district, not in the area,
Yep.
but just that little piece. Because when we think about the funding, we're underfunded. And if everybody's going at that funding at the same time with the same mission, we can at least get the 50% of our students that are there, because we're talking about 6,000 students in our district, where that other half, we know the community is dedicated to these students. So there are ways, but we have to all come together.
But there needs a plan. There needs to be a thought out plan so that people know what to do, because everybody's just floundering, right? What I want to help, but how do, maybe that's it. And I'm going to let if any of our audiences, we have a few very important people in our audience here, if they want to ask questions or whatever, and let me know if anything's coming online that we should address. But also talk about the funding aspect. I mean, is it really funding? That's important, because I also, I don't know how we're going to do it, but I also want to get into school choice. But oh well, go ahead.
Well, since I have the microphone,
Yes, go
I
ahead.
get to have the controversial topic. I think, school choice is a controversial topic. It's never going to go away. I believe that. I wish that was, not my response. But I think what we all need to just continually bring ourselves back to is that at the center of everything that matters, it is not the dollar, it is the student. And so we need to figure out ways that we can all have a piece of what we need to be there for those students. And, parents, Harrisburg School District has done an amazing job coming out of recovery. They're moving in a great direction. Dr. Henry is here now, and we're all really excited, to see what he's going to continue to do. But the reality is PA STEAM opened because there was a need, right? And just because you come out of recovery doesn't mean classrooms now turn around and all problems disappear and everything is perfect. Parents want choice, and we're happy to be one of those choices, and we're just one of many, right? There's other students that would be served better in an artistic program like Capital Area School for the Arts, or our STEM program, or other options. But I see it as we need to all figure out how we can stop arguing about dollars and become our own ecosystem, and an ecosystem that works together with all of the people that we mentioned, like the daycares and the Catherine Hershey schools, the Big Brothers Big Sisters that are just right across the street from us, the Harrisburg universities. If we all play nice in the sandbox, I say this all the time, what we teach our children to do, I think we can make a lot happen. And I'm sure you have something to add to that.
And then I want to hear, Julia, if you think funding is a big, because there's disparity in funding in schools in Pennsylvania. We already know that. The courts have said that.
Well, I'm going to just piggyback on what she shared. One of the things that I've been trying to do is open the door for collaboration. At the end of the day, I always look at this choice as Burger King and McDonald's. They always cross the street for a reason. And you got to give parents options. Now, I want every parent to choose me as the best option, but we have to continue to work on that. But I will always collaborate and work with our partners. And I think since I've been here, they understand that I want to work with them. Okay, at the end of the day, she said the right thing. It's about our kids. It's about our kids. I want to provide the best education to our kids. If PA STEAM is the best option for some of our family, that's fine. But I want to be the other option for our family as well. So we're going to continue to work together, continue to collaborate together, because at the end of the day, if we continue to work together, our kids benefit from it most.
Is funding a problem for Harrisburg schools?
Funding is always a problem. When you're thinking about a city like Harrisburg, and the majority of our building downtown is vacant, and that we are not receiving the funds that when you look at the Cumberland Valley and some of the other areas that they're able to receive funds for their kids, again, yes, it's always going to be an issue. But at the end of the day, we got to make the most of what we have. We could pound and beat our chest about funding, or we can say, you know what, let's roll up our sleeve and this is what we got. Let's give our kids the best education we can. But behind the scenes, yes, I'm always going to scream and demand we need more funding, because our kids deserve it. This community deserve it. When you see majority of our building downtown vacant, that's an issue. But again, we're going to roll up our sleeve and do what's best for our kids, because they deserve the best.
But see, that's why it's a catch-22. Dave was telling us that education is the number one driver for a city's economic development. And yet, without those buildings being occupied, there's no money for the schools. Dave, what's the solution here? Well, Miracle Man, what's the solution?
There's a group working on those vacant buildings and working with the governor on that. But funding side, educating the community as far as parents is something we have to do, but educating the business community on why they should support, not specifically the school programs, but all those services you need to surround your school with. The business community needs to stand up too and be a part of that funding cycle, I think.
Well, let Gordon, and then I'm going to turn it.
The superintendent just released the school district budget the other day, and we face something like a $300 million structural deficit that will take about 5 years to correct. And so coupled with, you'll know that Philadelphia has the only non-elected school board in the Commonwealth, 500 school districts. One of them has a non-elected school board, that's ours.
Who appoints the school board?
The mayor, in conjunction with collaborative efforts with the superintendent.
Okay.
So it's a unique model, and we know about the constitutionality of the funding decisions that are made in Harrisburg about how state funding will impact our district especially, but surely other districts as well, like Harrisburg. So we just got our budget the other day, and we're in a decent place where we have a considering purchasing of an additional teacher, for example. We have a very stable population because we're so sought after as a school, but the dollars and cents are never far from my mind as a principal, surely as the superintendent and others, is the business of school is a business. And we have to be aware of that.
But I'm hearing from you, businesses need to also step
They do.
up. Let's hear, we've got Sheila who's here with us, Sheila Dalford. Most people know her. Come on, Sheila, and ask your question here. Yes, come on. Don't be shy. Okay.
Very quickly, first of all, thank you all. You are all extraordinary human beings. That includes you, Joyce,
Oh, thank you.
for really for this is probably the most important topic we're going to talk about this year, okay, and in many years to come, as it was in previous years. We have to get this, if not right, at least better. It's a moving target. And in Harrisburg, it has been particularly challenging. I've worked with a number of you in various or on various initiatives, and I know your commitment. I think the two things that Joyce asked me if I wanted to say something I'd like to just talk about. One is climate and culture. Okay, I include those two together. We have to do a lot of work here in the city around that. And it is encouraging to hear you all talk about that. And which is not to say that I thought that you did not understand it, but it is necessary that we actually build better relationships, okay, that cross various kinds of traditional boundaries. Now I want to talk about funding. That was just a lead up to funding.
Now the real thing.
Now the
money,
real
right.
thing. All I said, I believe it. On the funding side, though, we could go on and on and on about funding. Pennsylvania has a funding issue, okay? The schools, the way in which we treat schools is a deep political, issue. It's a political football, and it becomes one. And each, I would say, each district has to be its own advocate. Harrisburg has a particularly unique situation, as we know, because we're the state capital and so much of our property is tax exempt. That, however, and I say this today because I think the business community needs to understand this a bit better, that creates an opportunity. And I'm also saying it to the political actors, it creates an opportunity to be a strong advocate for each and every student by going over to the Capitol all the time, by holding our political leaders, okay, accountable. I'm going to be candid with you. That's what would happen in Philadelphia, where I grew up. I know it needs to happen more here. You have to demand what you want. We don't have enough tax ratables. We just don't have it, which means that we spend our time looking around, pulling up the, I don't know, what are we doing? Looking under the mattress for more money. We have to we have to empower our leaders to become strong advocates. That means going to the governor's office. If you want help, I can help you. We can't be afraid. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else in our audience would like to have a question or a comment? If not, we always can add something there. So you heard that. What I'm taking from our conversation thus far is that funding is an issue. That's one of the biggest ones that we need to tackle. The question is how to do it. If it is, as Sheila said, that the business community as well as the parents need to start pressuring the legislature. But the other thing, parental involvement itself and helping parents who need support, right? And then the third thing I'm hearing is that in general, our community, you mentioned faith-based, you mentioned whatever, our community needs to make this a priority, education. And it makes me wonder, even in some of these daycare centers that don't have the degreed people, is that a place for a church or something to adopt and go and read to the kids, an hour, right? It only takes a rotation. So I guess I'm going to pass the microphone around now and see, as we close out, what would be your top three, maybe put it that way, things that you want to message to our community? And we'll let you end, okay? We'll start over here. But message to our community and just what we need to know that it's going to take to turn education around in Harrisburg, okay?
Of course, come to me. Information. I don't think people know your story and the right story out there, which is where you're doing a great job of getting it out there. education, not just in the school district, but in the community. And when I say community, it's not just Harrisburg specific. Harrisburg's the hub of our region. It needs to be the region that supports the Harrisburg School District as well.
Our school motto is Dare to be Excellent. And there is a leap of faith that we're asking students to make every day, and we're asking parents to come along with us, that we must continue to believe and promote the promise of public education. Superintendent says, and it's true, every day in every school, brilliant things are happening. And it's upon the leadership and others to promote and share those stories. I think in the void, your story will be told for you, and so dedicating resources to pushing stories of success, opportunity, will provide for a degree of transparency. If there's trust to be regained, that's one way to do it. But brilliant things happen in this school and every school, every day, despite some sentiment around an experiment that hasn't been fully realized.
Thank you. Sounds like hold to high standards. Keep the standards up.
Yeah, and we agree. It says on the outside of our building, high expectations, unlimited possibilities. But to sort of tie to Sheila's question, we consider ourselves here a character first program. Culture really matters for our students. The environment that we put our students in really matters. And we really kind of lead by the understanding of it's really less about what you learn or what you know throughout our program, and it's more about who you're going to become. And, we have to recognize that all of our children are unique. Every one of us, have something special to offer. And it's school's responsibility to really find what that piece is in every individual child. We don't want to, lump anybody into one category or box. We want to be able to propel our kids to figure out who their best selves are. And, that will trickle into other aspects. Something that we do here that I'm really proud of at PA STEAM, if you look on social media, there's a lot of mistrust in our police, in our firemen and women. And, one of the things we do here is really try to get our students at a very early age to understand their community and to want to be a part of it and to want to treat it with respect. And so to us, that is the most important thing, is teaching our children how to be good human beings.
Mm-hmm.
And once we do that, we believe that all of the other things will fall into place. I was never a math superstar. I suspect I never will be at this point. But that just wasn't my strength, right? And so we don't want to focus on each other's weaknesses. We want to focus on our strengths. And I think that's a good message for just schools in general.
Yeah, that's a good point. And one of the things I say, and we do internship programs, leadership comes in so many different ways. Some are academically gifted, but others are, gifted in the arts, and others are gifted in just spiritual things, whatever. That we need all kinds in this world to keep it functioning. Go ahead.
So I will just add the power of what you speak. So we have to change, our perception on how we see each other, right? Because I think it takes the village, as it goes back. And I think even on the board, we talk about, I always speak of everyone's value, and we respect each other, whether we're going to agree or disagree, right? So what we put out there matters because it reflects us all, whether we're the ones who are improving or failing or not. And then how do we come together? Like, support is from every level. I know a lot of people talk about choice and charter. You hear all these things that keeps us separated, and we work so much better together. So how do we take a piece of what you're doing and we collaborate that? And even from our high school to our elementary, honor the administrators that are doing the work.
Yes.
And how do we present them to tell to honor them, to say, how do you be transparent? And I think that was a big one of my conversations with the administrators, just even running for the board. I asked them, how many times do you get your degree? Yeah, one. So you're not going back. So children, climate changes. It changes. We're not doing what we did 10 years ago. And now, what I'm seeing is that students can tell the computer what to do.
Yeah.
So we got to find a way of how do we engage with them and making it valuable. And we're getting there. We got work to do. And I say all hands on deck. Everybody has to play their position. It's like if you're in a game, if you're not in position, someone's going to drop the ball. And as Ms. Dalford said, you have to hold your people accountable. And that's from every dollar. It's not that it's always the underfunded. Is the money being allocated correctly?
Yeah.
Is it going to the right programs? Right? And if it doesn't work, we have to find a new driveway, right, to go up to. So there's a lot, and I'm willing to keep fighting the good fight of faith. But I believe we're seeing a lot of change in our district, and it's exciting just to actually see it. It's one thing to vote or say it, but when you get to see it, you're like, okay. So
but I'll see it and let the community know about it, because I'm hearing it.
Right.
I'm the media. I didn't know about it. So
Yes.
how do we? And we want to know. We want to tell the good story. We really do. I do. And it's available. So again, let's
Thank you.
But you also talked about the culture and the climate and how we treat each other with respect, right? Whether we agree politically or not, that respect thing needs to be throughout our community.
I would say, I know the sake of time, in June, we came out of receivership, and one of the things that we put out to a lot of our schools and a lot of our staff that we're starting a new chapter. And the reason I wanted to lead with that, because I want everyone to understand that this is not the Harrisburg of old. We are changing. We are opening the door. We are collaborating. We are really focused on how do we change the outcome of our student. So again, I would say to our community, continue to work with us. Be patient with us. We did not get in this situation overnight. We're not going to get out overnight. But every day that I get up, and I know that everyone that work in our district office, we get up with a single focus of kids. How can we improve outcome for our students? So we'll ask our community to work with us, embrace that challenge. How can we come together to support our student? That's first. Again, we could go back and forth on everything we're doing. Just know that every day we're in this district, we're trying to do what's best for our kids. But I think I will continue to ask for our parents to work with us, engage with us. We have our family engagement specialists at every one of our schools. And the main thing, family engagement. So we have people in place to engage our family, engage our business community. But we just need to open the door and say, okay, it's time, let's work together, because at the end of the day, our kids are waiting. That was a theme for this year that I told our staff. Our kids are waiting on us, and I'm ready for them. I'm ready to start moving this district so we can provide the outcome that they deserve.
Very good. Well, we have heard a lot, and this is inspiring. It truly is inspiring to have these kinds of dedicated hearts and minds tackling this issue. So I want to thank you all, but I also want to challenge, especially the two of you, to don't lose sight of Julia Masterman. Really take that and grab it and figure it out, right? Dave is doing remarkable things and wants to keep, but also come up with that plan and challenge those faith groups, challenge them to say, here's what we need from you. Put them on the spot. And as Sheila says, put the elected officials on the spot. They have to vote for what you need. So I applaud each one of you. I thank you for taking the time to be here. And please, I turn to our community. You heard the call. All hands on deck. So with that, bye-bye, everyone. See you soon. Okay.